All right. Okay. So we are now officially live. If you're watching this live, drop where you are located right now in the chat so that we can know who is with us. My name is Carolee Moore. I am the founder of the Podcast Pitching Society, where we help experts to grow their visibility and land ideal clients using strategic storytelling on other people's podcasts. I'm super excited because this conversation is with my girl, Brianna, who's going to introduce herself, and we're going to dive right in.
Alrighty. For one, thank you for this amazing collaboration, Carolee. My name is Brianna Javon, like she mentioned, and I am the owner of What's Good Productions, where our mission is to bring purpose to platforms by creating, launching, and growing podcasts. So I think that's a great segue to what we're going to talk about today. So,
Yeah.
as far as, of course, like what we're discussing today is, when it comes to podcasts, the different avenues of growing and being strategic in growing. And it's from a podcast standpoint, showing up on other people's podcasts to pitch properly, all the great things. So, the number one that I wanted to cover is organic ways on how you can grow your podcast starting today, right? So, for me, what I did, I'm just going to talk about the experience of me. I have done this for other clients, but something that I did that's actually still working. And I completely rebranded my entire podcast. Initially, my podcast was called What's Good Podcast, but I changed it to Dallas, Texas What's Good Podcast, local stories from business owners and entrepreneurs. The reason I changed it is because, as you can see, there's more keywords. You know who the podcast is for, and you know that it is a local podcast. So you know the who, what, when, and why, right? And that was major for me because I wanted to dial in on who I have on the podcast, for one. I wanted to make it local. And for two, the type of value that I was providing. Because my thing is that I want to support people within the Dallas ecosystem so they'll know what's going on in their backyard. I can't do
Mhm.
that in California. I can't do that in New York. I'm not there. So
Mhm.
for me, it was very important for me to change that. And then from there, so many people started reaching out to me. Oh my gosh, Brianna. I saw you on Apple Podcasts, or I saw you on this list. I saw you on that list. Let me remind you, I've been doing this since 2019.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, now that I have changed just the title
Mhm.
itself, so many people are reaching out to me and wanting to be a guest. So with that, the growth actually went up. And then also now I am charging people to be guests on my podcast. Because for one, I'm on two different platforms where I'm top 80 podcasts in Dallas. And a lot of people are telling me they're finding me because I'm on those lists. And so that one thing of changing my title just really changed the trajectory of my entire podcast. And a little backstory, I had to leave from one hosting site, and a hosting site is pretty much how you um, get on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, etc. So I had to leave one hosting site to go to another, and I left with zero. I was like knocking at 10,000 downloads. So
Come
losing
on now.
10,000 downloads, right? To actually going from 10,000 to zero. And just yesterday, I looked at my downloads. I'm already at 3,000, and that's just in 1 year. And so the growth is there, and that's organically, that's no ads or anything. I didn't start doing ads until later, which we're talking about organic right now, right? But with that, it was literally just the title. So that's one thing I wanted to discuss. The second thing I wanted to discuss is your description. I've seen so many people, because I also do podcast audits, people either keep that blank or they put only one sentence.
Hmm.
And I'm not trying to call you out, but that can be a little lazy, okay? One strategy, what I would say and recommend, is for you to look at other podcasts that are similar to yours and see what they are doing. And that's what I did. I looked at other business podcasts. I looked to see what other keywords they were using, because at the end of the day, if I'm going to Apple Podcasts and I'm putting business podcast or Dallas podcast and you're showing up, you're doing something right. Right. So for me to do my research, I wanted to look at those people to see what they're doing. And if we're doing the same thing, why work so hard? So if they're
Yeah, that's
using,
good.
if they're using business, if they're using entrepreneurship, if they're using Dallas, of course, if they're using these different keywords, let me go ahead and use some of these things. And that definitely worked towards, of course, like SEO. That helped with people also finding me. Because what I always tell people is that you want to look at your podcast as it's a Google search. Because when people are going to Google, they're using keywords to find certain things. Same
Mhm.
thing when it comes to podcasting, they're using keywords to find certain podcasts that resonates with them. So take every opportunity when it comes to the title, when it comes to the description. You need to use as many keywords as possible. Don't stuff it. Be very intentional on what you're using. And so, going back into the description, what I do is that I have a brief description at the very top, and then I have a just for your information, these are the different topics that we're going to cover, or we do like a FAQ at the very bottom, right? So
Mhm.
people can know, oh, she's going to talk about this. Oh, she's going to talk about this in this type of podcast, this, and that. And so it all makes sense. So you got to think of it as a story, right? When people are searching for podcasts, they're looking at three things. They're looking at your cover art, they're looking at your description, and they're looking at the title. If those things do not correlate and do not make sense, they're on to the next one. And so when I say when it comes to growth, look at those three things and be very strategic and intentional on the words that you use, the keywords that you use, and think about who you're talking to. What pain points are you resolving? What
Mhm.
value are you going to give to support them? And that's how you find your community, because that one person that just found you, now they're sharing it with somebody else. Now they're sharing it with somebody else. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to friends, we probably all going through the same thing, right? So if I'm sharing it with my best friend is now probably sharing it with their other best friend. So you got to think about it like that. So when it comes to growing, I would say organically, just those three things will help you times 10 overnight. And you don't have to pay a thing. That's just really just doing research. And everybody use your best friend AI. I heard somebody call one AI friend Aisha. I heard one person say that their AI best friend is Erica. Use AI. It's free now, and just do your research to see what works for you. I want to talk about this in my podcast. What type of titles do you think I can use with SEO keywords?
Mhm.
Simple. And then from there, kind of do your research. Go on Apple Podcasts, go to Spotify, see what other people are using that's similar to your podcast.
No, that's smart because they always say success leaves clues, and I think the way that you're gonna bypass a lot of the mistakes that you're bound to make if you don't know what you're doing, or you better yet, you don't know what you don't know, is to go to someone who's already figured it out, who's
Mhm.
found success, see like not just what they're doing now, but look back to when they were, a year before that, 2 years before that. Like, what can you see as like strategies that they really used to grow? That makes sense. I love that. My question to you is though, like you talked about all the things that they should do. What are some of the things that they should avoid doing that you've seen your either your clients or you've done personally that actually negatively impacts your growth for your podcast?
Creativity. And when I say creativity, for an example, using heal as HEEL versus HEAL. And this was a recent conversation. I love her if she's watching this. No shade. But I told her within this conversation, because she wants to talk about healing in an aspect, but be cute with it. So that's the reason why she wanted to do HEEL.
Mm,
People are not going to look for healing with HEEL. Okay. So that's one thing. Keep it very clear and provide
yeah,
clarity of what you're doing when it comes to your podcast, because
yeah,
think about yourself. When you go to Google, you're searching things directly on what you're looking for. You're not thinking about anything creative. So think about that when it comes to your audience. What do you think that
yeah.
they're looking for? Like, goes back to the pain points. What are they going through? Because at the end of the day, that's what they're researching. They're not looking for something that you feel like you done created. Oh, this sounds cute. Leave that to the
Yeah.
content. Leave that to
My
the
coach
content.
my coach always says, like, "Listen, clarity eats cute for breakfast every day." And every time I'm trying to create a name for a program, I'm trying to like think through, okay, how do I want to, I'm always reminding myself of that because like, yeah, it's cute, but is it clear? Is it obvious what it is? Like, don't try to be cute. If it can be cute and clear,
That
cool. But
works.
yeah,
But,
I
the
love that.
wordplay situation, a lot of times
Yeah,
people do
I
that
love
as
that. Okay.
well. We just gotta let that go. So, be very clear, give clarity so it's easy for people to follow you, because like I mentioned earlier, it's a journey, and you don't want the journey to be hard, because once they
Mhm.
get to you, "Okay, I found my people." So, just be very mindful about that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Awesome. What's another one?
The other one, as I mentioned earlier, is not providing enough information. So I just did a
Mhm.
podcast audit, and literally per episode, there was no description. And I'm like, what are we talking about? Like, it's clear because let's say, for an example, they're talking about what's something that's crazy right now? Diddy is a hot topic, right? They just had a photo of Diddy as the cover art, and I'm okay, we know that's what you're talking about, but you need to put that in the description, you know? And I think that's a lot with pop culture when it comes to, like, the episode artwork. They kinda
Mhm.
just put the artist or, whatever the case may be that they're gonna talk about, but it's so important to put an actual title on the cover art. You need to go ahead and take advantage of putting a title for the episode, and also give a description so people can know what they're tuning into, because you
Mhm.
don't want them to tune in and then all of a sudden you barely talked about Diddy until the very last segment. What am I doing here? So it's very important to add some type of description. And with that, as a resource, there are resources here that will create timestamps for you. For an example, Descript is a really great tool. You can edit your podcast there. There's AI tools that will help you create a title. It will help you create a summary. It will give you timestamps, and all those things work in your favor so people can find you. So we don't have to work hard anymore. I hate to say that the folks are being lazy, but it is. I mean, you just got to be more
You can hate to
conscious.
say it, I'll say it for you.
Yeah.
Okay. We are
It
living in the land of I don't want to do no work, but I want to be, fill in the blank. Okay, sis.
Absolutely. I want to do this. I
Good
want to
luck.
be major with this, and that. But you got to do the basics. You just got to add a
Yeah.
little description. Even if you don't want to do that, take the transcript, add it to ChatGPT, and say, hey, give me a title, give me a description, and be done.
Yeah.
So, like I mentioned, some of these platforms are like $12 a month. Depending on what you're looking for, going back, create a budget, you know, and grow with it. But there's so many platforms out here that are helping you in creating podcasts, because podcast is so big and it's only going to get bigger from here. So there are people realizing how big the industry is. So they're creating platforms to support podcasters. So all you
Mhm.
have to do is do a little bit of research, get a little AI platform that's going to support you. And then from there, make it happen. Use all the tools, use all the resources, because they are so accessible now. It's crazy. And tuning into more conversations like this, because people are providing so much information when it comes to podcasts. Because, like I mentioned, it's such a hot topic. So just tap in, do
Yeah.
the
I
homework.
think that you tapped on a really good point there where I feel like this is such a new thing that people are curious, but they're also uh apprehensive because it feels so huge. Like I don't even know where to start. There's an old saying, it's like there's one way to eat an elephant, it's one bite at a time. It's a
Yeah.
cute saying, but in the reality of it is, what does that look like? And you're essentially saying like you don't have to start with this huge big production where
Yeah.
you're going into a studio and having multi camera angles and doing all the things. You can literally just start where you're at.
Mhm.
And I also think this is side note from what I took from what you said was it is really easy to outperform majority of the people that are out here building podcasts because from what I'm hearing, just a whole bunch of laziness and a whole bunch of throwing it together, duct taping things and trying to, make things shake without real intention. So
Mhm.
what I'm hearing you say, and you let me know if I'm right,
Mhm.
it's not super difficult if you're wanting to create a quality product. to actually stand out um, from your competition. Obviously, as you get bigger and better and all the things, you're competing with different people. But from what I'm hearing from you, there's a lot more people doing the bare minimum or not even that than folks that are actually taking time and intention. Is that a true statement?
Absolutely. And to be
Yeah.
100% honest, there's more podcasts that's not active than active.
Yeah.
So, for an example, I just did a pitch contest a few weeks ago, and a statistic that I share with everyone that 90% of podcasters stop after 3 episodes.
Yeah.
That is a huge amount. And so when you think about it in that sense, if you're still going, you're already beating at the competition. And so that should encourage you more so than discourage you to just be a little bit more intentional than you were yesterday. Because at the end of the day, if you're being strategic, if you're providing the structure for yourself, people are going to show up, but you got to show up for yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? I don't want to.
I'm trying to think. Oh, we didn't talk about the cover art. So that was the third
Okay.
thing. When it comes to, we talked about the title, we talked about the description. I do want to break down the cover art itself. So once you have your title of the podcast, you got to make sure that it resonates on the actual image as far as the thumbnail. And so when I say this, include your title and your subtitle. Everybody want to put their face on everything. It is not about you. They're going to hear your content. They're going to see your content, you know? So it is not about you. I had to, my initial photo, it was like a big picture of me with Dallas in the background and What's Good podcast little logo. Who are we talking to? What are we talking about? Homegirl, what is going on? So I legit just started fresh. I put my little photo real, real small, added my title, did my subtitle, and my background is blue. It is blue. It is very clean. It provides clarity and people understand what the podcast is about. And so when it comes to, we talked about wordplay, don't be so busy when it comes to your cover art. Because again, people are searching, they're looking, and they want to know what's for them and they want to feel like they belong. If
Mhm.
things are too busy and it's not clear of what's going on and how it's going on, they're gonna go ahead and go to the next podcast or the next episode. Sometimes in the search, it'll show like options for an episode or options for an actual podcast. So
Mhm.
you want to make sure that you take advantage when it comes to those three things. We talked about the title, but it really counts when it comes to the thumbnails as well, because sometimes those thumbnails are bigger than the title and the description itself. So be
Mhm.
very conscious when it comes to your cover art. I would say plain background. If it's a dark background, make light words and vice versa. If you're gonna have your photo on there, because we cute or whatever, it's fine. But don't make that the pivotal point of it. Because they're already gonna get your content. They're already gonna tap into who you are. So they're gonna get you. You don't have to be big as they on the cover art. Because at the end of the day, it's about them, it's not about you. And that we could talk, spiritual things all day. But it's really not about you. It's really what you're doing to support other people and what's going on in them. You just have the resources. You're the expert. You're the thought leader. So use that as a mind frame versus it being, I got to show my face on everything. No, allow the work to, what did they say? Allow the work to talk for itself.
Speaks for
Well,
itself. Yeah.
speak for itself. Have that mindset. So, like I mentioned, if you're gonna have your photo, it doesn't have to be the biggest thing. Just really focus on the subtitle and the title itself.
Yeah. I love that. I think it's a good reminder. I don't even think it's just spiritual. I think it's also just good business to think about the fact that like what you're doing is not for you. Especially if you're doing a business podcast, you're literally doing it to help other people.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I like those tips. Okay. All right, so we're gonna shift a little bit, well, not a little bit, a lot of bit, to talking about podcast guesting and strategies on how to actually leverage podcast guesting for more than just good conversation. Now, I'm going to walk through three different things. I'm going to walk through how you can pitch like you want it, meaning the opportunity, prep like you mean it, meaning you actually want to leverage the opportunity for something more than just a good conversation. And then end of it, leverage it so you can multiply.
Mhm.
The big piece where I think a lot of people fall short, because we already talked about folks are in the microwave. Still, we're in the microwave generation of like, I want to do the bare minimum and get the maximum results. Good
Mhm.
luck. um, as I say, like you catch a lick, that lick is going to be one time.
Yeah.
And because you still don't figure out like how to actually leverage that, it's going to go away and you're starting over again. So
Mhm.
we're not even, let's be for real. Okay. First one, pitch like you want it. Um, so Brianna just talked about not being self-centered essentially with your cover art. This is exactly what I want you to also think about when you're pitching yourself. When you are writing your pitch, it is super important for you to remember it's not about you. Yes, you've done all the things, you have all the accolades. Oh my God, you're so proud of yourself. I'm so happy for you. However, this pitch is an opportunity for you to showcase, hey, a podcast host, I've actually listened to your podcast. I know who you serve. I know what they typically have as an issue. Here is a topic that I already know would be a hit for your people because they would learn bop, bop, bop. And I think this would be a fantastic way to kind of close out this campaign that you've been on, or I've seen that you've actually had these kinds of guests before. This is a different take on a similar conversation that you had with guest name. You want to show familiarity with the show. You want to show an interest in actually helping them build a better show. And you want to show specifically and very directly how your appearance on that show will actually help them create a good experience for their listeners. That is your job. That's your job in that pitch. It's actually one of the reasons why we created our Black Friday offer. It's a DIY podcast pitch kit. It's our entire system because a lot of times people, you might get a little template for free from somebody who's trying to get your email address, and you're like, all right, bet, got that. I'm just gonna change my name, pop in, a little fake whatever. Oh my god, I saw you. I went, no, you didn't. But like, you gonna fake that, and then okay, great, I'm gonna get all of these shows, and then cricket. Um, with our system, we actually start off with a pre-pitch email, right? I'm not gonna tell you what's in that pre-pitch email, 'cause
You
it's
gotta
a
tap in.
it's a part of the
Right.
kit. And we actually use that same system for our done for you clients. So, I'm not gonna give away our sauce. Let's just
Mhm.
be real. And then that second email is actually the pitch. The second email is the full throat pitch. And then we have multiple follow-ups afterwards, but it's not some AI bot that's following up where it's like, yeah, I reached out it was a week ago. Like what are we doing?
Mhm.
Because you forgot to turn it on when you're but like let's be for real here. Um you really need to make sure that your pitch is fully representing who you are, what you bring, what is unique to you. Be specific, be clear, be quick, be out. Okay. Be easy to work with, meaning, are you going to already give them the links to your socials? Are you going to already give them all the information that they would need, a headshot, all of that? Pretty much offer it so they know exactly who you are and what you would bring to the table. There's no guessing. They don't have to go and try to Google you and do nothing. You give them all the information right there. Why is that important? For these super small podcasts, like they're just happy for anybody to pitch them. They're like, oh my God, yes, 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 yes. For these, what I call medium and larger podcasts that have the kind of downloads that you would want, they're going to be pickier. Why? Because they're getting inundated with pitches. I've been told, I don't know how many different times, like, yo, I ignore about 99% of the pitches that come into my inbox. And I've been told that there are people who are getting pitches, 100 pitches a week, right? And they don't really go and review it until like the end of the quarter. You don't want, as someone is just kind of going through and okay, nope, nope, no, you don't want it to be that easy to say no to you.
Mhm.
And the way it's going to be easy to say no to you is if you don't make it clear that you are familiar with the podcast, you know exactly who the audience is, you know there's a particular pain point that audience has that you can actually address with your particular, what we call your visibility PowerPoint, the thing that you know, like the back of, you know what I mean? You know it, and you understand exactly how that particular thing can help to transform, change, grow, build their audience, solve a problem for their audience, whatever it is. You're saying all of that very quickly and then giving them some links, and then you're out. That's a really, really good pitch. And you follow up and follow up and follow up. And so if you are doing that, make sure you have a spreadsheet that you're tracking all of these things on. Ensure that if there's a form that you're filling out, and this is the other piece that I don't always say, but it's so, so important. There are a lot of podcasts now, especially again, these medium ones, they'll have these forms. People will tend to fill it out like they're filling out a job application. My name is, so and so, and I run to. I want you to pretend like this form is the interview.
Mhm.
Put your personality in there. Crack some jokes. Give them all the juice, honey. So that they can, as they're reading it, hear you and be like, "Oh, this person, yeah, this is the kind of person I would want on the podcast. Absolutely would love that." Right? So make sure every single thing that you're doing beforehand is putting your best foot forward. Also, some podcasts, especially again, more reputable ones, will want to meet with you before making a decision to like actually have you on the podcast. That is your time to not just go straight into like, I'm really smart and I know all these things. They want to know whether or not they like you. Really, that's the biggest part. And you want to make sure that is all a vibes conversation. They're not going to be able to check whether or not you got your PhD for real during that call. They're not going to be looking to see, oh, did you really get your project management certificate? Like it's not that. Right? The call is literally like, would this person bore me to tears? Do they have like a really unique perspective on this thing for real? And would I enjoy having a conversation with them? Is it worth it? Right? It's your job to prove and show that that's worth it. And a part of that is showing some personality. Do not go on these calls and try to impress them with, whatever. The irony is, I remember one conversation that I has like a pre-podcast, whatever. I come in and this guy was I really hope he's not watching this. It was very, very self-important. It's like, yeah, and I've spoken in front of tens of thousands of people and I've written blah. It's just like spouting off all his stuff, honey. Like, in a way, it felt like he was trying to intimidate me.
Mhm.
Like, my podcast gets tens of thousands of downloads. I'm like, that's great. That's why we pitched you. It's okay. Like I get it. I was like,
That's why
um,
we're here
yeah,
today.
right. And so he does all of his like dog and pony show and then allows me to talk. And so I just go straight into like my pitch, but with personality of, this is what we do. This is what I talk about. This is what my unique perspective is. This is how and I kind of broke everything down. And then he's like, tell me a little bit more about what you guys do. And then I went straight into even more detail about it. Long story short, that ended with me getting a sales call for him to potentially become a client. And him
Yes.
selling himself to try to be on my podcast
Mhm.
after all that. That is how you do a pre-podcast conversation.
Mhm.
you know, you go in there, personality and all the things, but I mean, always be selling. That's my personality. But anyways, so that is the first one. Pitch like you want it.
Mm.
Okay. Um, Second one is prep like you mean it. This one's super, super important because listen, I always ask people the question, especially in my master classes as we're talking about podcast guesting, because it's still new to a lot of people. I said, would you go in front of over 5,000 people if you were asked to go and deliver a keynote address in front of 5,000 people? Would you wing that? Would you
Mhm.
just walk up on that stage? You ain't got no paper, no nothing. Like you just, I'm gonna wing it. Most people would say absolutely not. That's crazy.
Mhm.
However, there's so many people that are so like, nah, I got this. I don't need to practice. What? Going on these podcasts, and yeah, you think you're doing fantastic because you like to hear yourself talk. But at the end of it, that's all it was. Just a decent conversation, good conversation. You might have even gotten a compliment from the host, like, oh, that was a good conversation. But if you're trying to use podcast guesting as an actual growth strategy, having a good conversation is not good enough. When you are able to use sales psychology, when you're able to use strategic storytelling and really not only get your point across as like, oh, now this person likes me, but make it clear, hey, I understand your unique challenge, your unique problem. And by the way, I've helped other people walk through them those same steps. And these are the transformations that I've been able to actually usher people through. And oh, yeah, by the way, there's an offer just for you. That's how you get to leads. The conversation is no longer just, oh, this was great. Oh my God, my dog, whatever. Like all of those things are awesome, but best believe, no matter what conversation I'm having, even if I'm talking about mindset, I'm going to bring it right back. Oh, yeah, my clients, they're always, and
Mhm.
go right back down because at the end of the day, I want you to visualize yourself getting the help that you need with visibility and using podcast guesting as that vehicle. And of course, choosing us as a way to do that. I'm always going to come back to that. And so in your prepping of those for your interview, you need to start thinking about your stories. This is for every expert. If you're listening right now, watching us right now, whether it's live or replay,
Mhm.
and you have been doing something for the last 10, 15, 20, 25 years, and you've had more than like 5 clients, you've helped more than 5 people, you don't notice it, but you have a tendency of generalizing your experience, generalizing your results. Why is that? After you've given or gotten the same results for a bunch of different people, you start to see patterns, you start to think in patterns.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, most people will blah, blah, blah. And most people that work versus Bob. Bob, I work with Bob, and Bob started here. And because of the work that we did, Bob actually ended up here.
Mhm.
Right. And now the person who's listening, instead of them thinking about the generalities, which they have nowhere to place that, when they're thinking about it, now they're hearing themselves in Bob's story. They're like,
Mhm.
dang, am I Bob?
Yeah,
Do I?
it's a relation. I
It's my,
feel related to
yes.
it. Mhm.
And because they're able to do that, you connect in a more concrete way with real and specific stories. This is not theory, guys. I've literally prepped multiple clients who have been in business for a while, been doing things for a while, and because of the prep, they come back and they're like, yo, I'm not kidding you, Carolee. This guy just said I was probably one of the best guests that he's ever had. And I honestly believe it's like I knew the questions that he was asking. I had my story bank that we had already pulled together. I was using those, and I had like a specific, there's a framework that we use that is essentially, problem, solution, impact, problem, solution, impact, problem, solution, impact. And if you enter that and seed your offer throughout that entire answer of the question, by the time the interview is over, they love you and they want to hire you because they can clearly see what your unique um skill or ability is to help them move from where they're at to where they want to be. And so it's not a theory. This is what I do myself because I'm still podcast guesting. I actually had an interview yesterday and today,
Come
and
on.
I'm doing it for our clients. So prepping like you mean it is a big thing. Making sure that you're actually showing up with stories ready, no matter what the question is. Boom. Also, your introduction. You absolutely need to make sure that your introduction is tied to some level of connection to who you are, your story, whatever you've kind of overcome. A lot of times, entrepreneurs start businesses to solve a problem that they've experienced or someone that they love has experienced, right? Or in some way tied to like a deep desire, passion, etc. So using that story as a leverage to go into, hey, this is what I do, this is what I help people to do, and this is our offer, is a much better through line in the beginning. And it actually, and I've clocked this, it always, almost always changes the direction of the interview to where
Absolutely.
you want it to go to. Because now the host is like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's cool. Like, you know, and it's always going to be in, okay, let's talk more about the thing that you came here to talk about. Always. Um, so that is a big thing too. And so that's the prep. Last one, leveraging it so you can multiply. We talk some doing Brianna's segment for podcasters about people being lazy. And she was like, I don't want to say it. And I was like, I'll say it.
Okay. No
People
problem.
are lazy. Another statistic that blows my mind, but it is actually true. If you sit down and think about it, little over 10% of people actually promote the podcast shows after they're finished recording it. So when it's live, 10% of people actually go and help to promote the show. 10%. It is so easy to not fall into that. It is so easy. So the
I
first
do.
piece, yeah,
Oh, no, I
yeah,
wanna say that there's actual podcasts, including me. Not only do we send you as the guest promo material, some people actually put it in your point of view captions. So we make it easy for
yes,
you to
yes,
promote the episode. I
yes.
just want to talk from the other side of it. But yeah,
Oh,
we give you all the
1,000%.
information.
Yes. In our first podcast, that's exactly what we did. We gave the captions, we gave the graphics and reels. Like there was no excuse. And yet, I will tell you, multiple people did not promote at all.
Mhm.
So that statistic, unfortunately, I know from experience, and like you said, Brianna, like it's true. And it's very easy for it to not be true. Because again, you're going on for the publicity, for the visibility, but visibility is not just being seen. Like, can I just be real with y'all?
Come on. Mhm.
You going on Good Morning America, you getting written up on Forbes, you getting on the biggest podcast you can think of, right? That is awesome. You're a business owner. I don't care about eyeballs. I care about paychecks. I care about greed,
Mhm.
money. At the end of the day, yes, great. You know, I'm walking down the street, somebody knows me. I don't care. I'm a business owner. And if you're listening and watching us right now, like, and that's not your MO, I really encourage you to change your mindset because visibility is not for visibility's sake. Visibility is for more visibility to get more actual revenue. You are building a business. And so the leveraging of it is actually the most important part. And unfortunately, it's the part that I think a lot of people um, get overwhelmed by. And there's like, I don't want to do it. Right. Where it's like, okay, you do the thing, you're excited about it. It's great conversation, but they launch the podcast in the middle of all kinds of other stuff that you're busy and you forget. And then it's a year later and you ain't never leveraged the podcast for anything other than what it was.
Mhm.
And so I cannot stress enough. You don't need more visibility right now. A lot of y'all, you need to leverage the stuff that you already have. There are people who have TEDx talks that they've never actually promoted for real, like full throw promoted. People kind of sort of know, but like you haven't really pushed that out.
Mhm.
There's people who have been on notable podcasts that maybe that was a year or two ago. So you're like, oh, it's too late. No, it is not. The beauty of podcasts is that it's evergreen. You being on a podcast 5 years ago, as long as the messaging is still relevant, reuse that mug. Like you could put that in so many different places today,
Mhm.
right? The whole point of getting more eyeballs on you is to then leverage that for even more eyeballs. It is not just enough for you to be on the thing and say, great, check that off. I did 3 podcasts today. The biggest laughable conversations I be having, and I've had it with multiple people who like to brag, I've been on 50 podcasts. I'm like, that's great. How many leads did you get? How much money can you connect directly to the podcast guesting experiences do you have? I've had a fraction of the podcast guesting experiences you've had, but I've made almost $100,000 this year
You
from
better say
podcast
it.
guesting. What can you say?
Mm,
And that's not a flex, it's a reality, right? When we're thinking as business owners for visibility, we cannot just keep thinking about it as like, I'm great. Someone knows my name, someone put me on their platform. That's great. I want everything. So I want, yes, for me to be on the platform, but I want for them to also be hitting me up in my inbox, say, oh my God, I definitely need to get on your calendar for this. Oh my God, I need to purchase this. I need to. That is the point of this.
mm,
Like, I really want to challenge people when it comes to podcasts. For the last few years, we've been playing around with this whole space. It is a game changer, especially for B2B consultants, for people who are serving other businesses, because majority of the people who are listening to business podcasts, newsflash, own a business.
absolutely. Mm,
And so getting on more of those, you're going to be able, if you're doing it correctly, and I just gave you a whole lot of game,
did.
how to pitch and get on them and do well, you can actually leverage that for more. Some of the things that I've said in other places and other videos, but if you've never heard them, I'm going to say a couple here as far as leverage that are outside of just social media or the regular social media channels, is one, YouTube. Um, I cannot tell you enough. When you Google someone, most times now, there's a video section that pops up at the top. And most of those videos, if you've been on a ton of podcasts, most of them videos are your podcasts. Most of them. Do not sleep on that. And it is one of the largest search engines on the planet, YouTube. And people go on there to search for a whole host of things.
Yeah.
And it's typically when you have a problem you're trying to solve. Like, it is, how do I and you want to make sure when you're found, like, all right, I got it. And
Mhm,
it's not just a good conversation. That by the end of it, they're like, nah, I really do need to download that kit. Oh, I really do need to get that thing. Oh, wow, yeah, this book is awesome.
mhm.
That's the next step of this, right? So the other piece is using it and reusing it in both your onboarding for your clients. So creating uh, a library of different type topics that you've covered on podcasts, et cetera, like just having a library and be like, hey, watch these and get familiar with how to do something, why we do something a certain way, why we're unique, whatever it is that you've talked about on podcasts. You're going to be able to kind of take them through that. You can also use it as a part of your sales funnel. We use podcasts as a part of our sales funnel, where right after you've scheduled your sales call, you're going straight into an article, a podcast interview, and then a podcast testimonial type thing that I did with a client. So you're getting a full understanding of podcasting, podcast guesting, and all of the things before you even hop on the sales call with me, right? You can use your podcast everywhere. There's a podcast right now in my email signature. You have to find ways to leverage what you are doing. We are small business owners with small audiences. If you're just going to keep going hour by hour and getting on these podcasts and not using it after, it is a waste of time. And literally, time is money. So what are you wasting? In addition to the time that you're spending sitting down, you're wasting money.
I do
So
have a question for you.
sure,
Okay.
please.
So, as you mentioned, as far as like wasting time, I do want to ask you when it comes to pitching yourself, right? As
Mm,
far as the email, and also when you actually get on the podcast, when do you stop yourself from chatting too much or giving too much of the sauce? Because I think a lot of times, like we get so caught up in, oh, I got to make sure that I share this, and now you're talking in circles, right? And
mhm,
so in the situation, you're an expert. You've been doing this for
mhm,
how many odd years, right? So you're full of knowledge. How
mhm.
do you prepare your clients to say, keep it concise? 3
Mhm.
sentences, whatever that may be, right? On
Mhm.
your end, how do you kinda help them prep for not do too much, just do enough? Because you actually did that while ago. Like, I don't know if you realize it, but you was like, "I'm not gonna give y'all too much, you're gonna have to tap in to get the rest." But I can tell, like, it's natural for you. And so for other people, you're teaching them. What is your experience with that?
So, one of the things that this might not be the answer that you're expecting. I'm not scared of teaching too much on a podcast. It just has to be to an end.
Received.
I'm not just going to be talking and talk. You might feel like it is, but I'm seating the entire way. Good.
Strategy.
Oh my God, this is so amazing. I'm getting so much information. I'm like, yep, because I'm about to pitch you. And
Yeah,
I want you to have enough information to make a decision.
and then it makes sense.
So that would be my answer is tell enough, give enough that whoever is listening would have enough information, they would have enough data as it be to make a informed decision as to whether or not you are who you say you are and you are someone who could potentially help them with the problem that they have. It's one thing if you're just talking gibberish and it's like, oh my God, this person is boring, or like that's actually not accurate. What
Mhm.
versus, oh, she's spitting game.
Come on, bars.
You.
Yeah.
But I would say for the folks that are prone to just talking a whole heck of a lot, I will tell you some of my clients, they do it and I notice it and I call them out on it, to be honest, when we prepping. When you're nervous, you start, there are people who instead of saying whatever, like as like filler words, they'll use other words as filler words. So
Example.
they're talking a whole lot, but they're really not saying nothing because they're
Mhm.
trying to figure out what they want to say.
Mm.
And I'm like, you can cut like literally half of these words. They don't mean nothing. Just say this, and we're done, right? Cut to it. And so I would caution people about that, where it's like you get asked a question, pause for a second,
Yeah.
gather your thoughts together, and then be methodical in how you want to answer. Because I already know. So you asked me a question, for instance, of like, okay, so what are some of the pitfalls of podcast guesting that people need to look out for, right? I already know in that answer, one of the things that I probably want to do is use a real example from one of my clients.
Mhm.
Why would I do that? I just told y'all it is problem, solution, impact. That is the framework. I'm already setting you up
Mhm.
for you to see yourself in my client, for you to understand that there is a better way to do it. And then I'm gonna tell you, okay, and then this is what I help y'all with. By the time
Simple.
we're done, be like, oh, I need her help.
Mhm. 'Cause
This
you laid out the foundation. Mhm.
period. So that is a good way to kind of look at it when you're thinking about, okay, how do I want to actually um get to a place where I say what I need to say and I'm actually making it clear what my unique value prop is without it being super salesy. Problem, solution, impact.
That's really good. That's really good. Okay. So, okay, with that, how long, as far as like practicing that type of mind frame? Because I think
Mhm,
a lot of times when we get in front of our coaches, when we get in front of our mentors and we get this type of information, we're
mhm,
like, oh, we're going to make sure this is done, right? And so, how do you get them to practice it so they can be better? Because at the end of the day, yeah, you're going to get green light to be on this podcast, right?
mhm,
But outside of that, like, how are you practicing this to make sure? Because I know for me, I practice at home my mission statement. I practice at home making it real quick when I get in front of people. Instead of 30 seconds, I'm focusing on 15 seconds, you know? And it may not be like a focus of every day, but when I have some time, let me go ahead and, start thinking about this. When people ask me this, what can I say to that? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm being more strategic now. Because when we're in front of people, it's always some type of sale. You don't want to be salesy, but you have to be conscious of that time. And so, how do you help them instead of using the podcast to always pitch or practice, how they can do it in real time as well to figure out what their problem, solution, and impact is? I
So we
remember.
actually go through real questions,
Hmm.
and I pretend we first start off our pitch, and now y'all getting a little taste of how what it is like to get prepped by me. We start off with talking about your intro, and I actually don't tell them what to say. I don't give them any feedback. I just say, tell me, right? And I time them. I give you 2 minutes, and you do your initial introduction. And then after that, I give you pointers. We work through the introduction, and through working through the introduction, there is clarity that they get and understand, meaning pacing. They understand, okay, messaging specifically. Okay, this is my visibility PowerPoint. This is what I really want to focus in on. Okay, great. Because then when I start asking them specific questions, that is literally geared to them pulling a story out of their story bank and understanding how to actually do the problem solution and impact, then they're pulling from what I already told them, which is all right, making sure that you're engaging, making sure that you're adding a little sauce in there, whatever your personality is, like making sure that you're being clear and a little bit longer. It's a podcast. This is not a multiple choice, thing where you're like A, B, C. Like
In and
you
out.
need to like elongate a little bit and make sure that you are very clear as to what the, again, impact, right? You're ending on impact offer. How is that directly tied to that, right? Really wanting to make sure that's good. And when you're able to do that and practice that, then it all kind of makes sense as you can practice on anything. So you go on the show, your first time you might be a little nervous, but as you practice, like, oh wait, that worked. Let me try. Um, and then it's okay. Because again, most of my clients, you know, these are people with advanced degrees. You ain't got to tell them more than once. Like, this is what it is. And once they see that it works,
Hmm.
then all they're doing is practicing and making it even more like crisp and clear. I've seen people, and I've actually had one client who, when we started, she was fumbling over her words. She was nervous. I'm like, it's just me. It's fine. Like, she just wasn't confident in how to like even talk about what she did. And this was a woman who was helping people make hundreds of thousands of dollars by going through her program, and she was making millionaires. And I'm like, you have to come in with like the energy of like who you are, right? And be able to tell your story and get. And when we pulled out all the main points of her story and got her to kind of really hone in on that and not take the scenic route to get to that piece, I saw her perform her introduction for a podcast that she did live, and I was able to watch her. And I was like, is this the same person?
Come
Oh
on.
my gosh. Because she went home, we record our stuff. So she went home and just like practiced it.
Very
And
good.
that's the power of the practice, but it's also the power of understanding like the purpose of the stuff. It's not just to, oh, let me just my name, my company name, and like we're done. When you're on a podcast and it's for a purpose and you're trying to sell something, like there are things that you will need to do that is beyond just kind of the basic run of the mill. And if you're okay being mediocre, like that's your business. But we both of us are giving advice, whether you're on the production side and producing your own podcast or you're a podcast guest, on how to stand out and be better than the rest. And for this side of stuff, how are you going to actually turn it into contracts, opportunities, speaking engagements, people clamoring to say, hey, I saw you on so and so's podcast, girl. Like that is the stuff that you're wanting to get, and you're not going to get that by phoning it in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. That was good.
Thank you. I know. I went in a whole that one it spoke to me. Um, I know we had a third point, but I feel like this was good.
I do. I think so. Yes,
I think this
absolutely.
was good.
Hmm.
Did you have anything that you want to tell the people? Because I have a little bit a special announcement, but
Um, I okay. So on the end, like you mentioned, as far as the guest to come on,
Mhm.
mm, you said like there was so much, but the biggest thing was to make it easy for the podcast host.
Yeah.
And when I say that makes me so cheerful because on the other end, I do have like a questionnaire and I ask them for their bios. I ask them for their headshots. I ask for all of these things. And
Mhm.
so if you have those, it makes the podcast host's job much easier. And then it also makes the conversation easier too, because I know now what you want to talk about. I know what you want to do. So I can formulate these things to make our jobs easier for each
Mhm.
other. And
Mhm.
so it's really, really good. And I was being intentional when I asked that question as far as practicing, because on my end, I've seen people talk, 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 talk. And I'm like, you did all of this for no reason. You did all of this for no reason.
To
And
what
on the
end?
other end, I've seen my guests come on the show, provide sweepstakes, provide free trips just to say, you heard this interview on What's Good podcast.
Mm,
Reach out to me and
come
I will
on.
give you a free trip to come to my headquarters to understand what it looks like to live as a CEO. And
Come
I,
on.
as a host, that makes me feel so amazing because my thing is that we provide resources, right? So for you to provide that type of resource, I want you to come back on. So just to give y'all a little encouragement on everything that Carol Lee said, it definitely makes a difference of if we even want to highlight you on our podcast when it comes to promoting the episode, how eager we want to do it, and does it really make sense? Because at the end of the day, this is a collaboration. And
Right.
so if you're coming on just to wing it, I know you're winging it.
Say
I'm
that
super
again. Say that again.
I know we're gonna cut this to 15 minutes, what you don't understand.
Right.
I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's what we can do together. Okay, all right. So go ahead and tell the people how to contact you. We can just wrap it up because there's no reason to waste each other's time, right? And so I want to give you your flowers as far as like a podcast host side, that it's so good that you're helping people. And like I mentioned earlier, when it comes to podcasting, podcast guest agencies were not there. So people were winging it. So for this type of service, I feel like I'm putting a sales pitch for you. But
See, I'm not interrupting. I'm like, go ahead, sis.
I just feel like this is so needed on so many levels because people are out here winging it. And what y'all don't realize is that as a host, we see it, we hear it, we're right in the room with you. And I'm really big on energy. And so if we're not matching each other's energy, let's wrap this thing right on up. It's a wrap. So I love that you are doing this, making it so much easier, the conversation flow and having a good time and being fun at the same time. Like, okay, we bouncing off each other because at the end of the day, the host is probably a business owner just like the guest.
Exactly.
So we
Exactly.
could tap into so many things and have fun doing it. So that's all I want to say.
I love that. Well, thank you for you. I mean, you really did push this up. Uh, a lot. Because we are for Black Friday, we have our first DIY offer. It is fully DIY. However, we don't do templates over here, right? It is a pitch kit. It is our entire system. But not only is it the entire email system, we have 6 different other modules that we have, and you have me walking you through on video how to utilize the other modules to help to improve your pitch, to make it more unique to you, to essentially create a highly customized pitch for you, so that you can not only go in there and pitch like who you are, a boss, like who you are, but follow up and really leverage all of that. Plus, on top of that offer itself, that is the Black Friday offer, we are giving away 5 different freebies, 5 different bonuses. And that first one, the first one that's going away, because we're going to keep pulling one away every single day that the cart is open. So from Monday to Friday, we have bonuses. The first one is 6 different podcasts that we select for you, right? We're doing the research for you. We're really understanding your business, understanding your goals. We're essentially going to treat you like one of our done for you clients for a day. And you're going to get that list in addition to now the pitch kit. The smart person would be like, bet, because now I'm going to have a list, contact information, all the things, and I'm going to have this customized pitch kit. I'm ready. Like that, there's no guessing in that. Oh, will this work? I don't know. There are people currently making multi 5 figures. I want them using that same system. Like this is not a guess situation. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're selling for Black Friday. You can only get the $997 price with all 5 bonuses, which includes that 6 podcast list, or the list of 6 podcasts for you to pitch on our wait list. So it's only for people who join our wait list. It's only for people who are locked in. And if you're not on our wait list by the 24th of this month, then that goes away. I mean, you can still buy the kit, but that particular where our team is involved goes away after that first day for obvious reasons. So anyone who was lucky enough to get that, you're about to get, again, what our clients are paying thousands of dollars a month to get. You're going to be getting that for free on top of the pitch kit. You don't want to play around with this, right? So that's what we have. I'm super excited about it. Every single person I've told about that kit that is in podcasting is like, so what can we do to barter trade? Like, I think I need that. I think I need that. And so you want to get on this. People who are actually in podcasting understand how big this is. And this price will more than likely not stay the same after Black Friday. So don't, don't play around. We don't do, this ain't no cheap get it where you fit in type of, no. So anyways, that is it. I'm super excited. Thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. Brianna, you were the perfect person to have this conversation with. I think we gave away so much in this conversation. We should have charged people. Okay.
For real.
This was a whole masterclass. But this is what we do. Free content that is of value. If you actually listen to this whole thing to this point, drop the end in the chat. So whether this is live or you're listening to the recording, drop the end in the chat so we know that you made it all the way to the end. Thank you so much for listening in. And I do hope that you not only got value from this, but you will execute on value from this. Absolutely. And we'll catch you next time.
Toodaloo.